it ever loud enough? For hell no, I cannot hear it. I'm the oldest kid here who's got a free spirit.
Hey everyone, it's Lil Dot here with an all-new 401 Tunes. This time is our very first exclusive 401 Tunes. I am here with Dizzy Woosh at ShuBrew, and I'm going to let them tell you what we're doing because it was a secret up until now.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dizzy Woosh is here at ShuBrew today in Harmony, Pennsylvania, making a special edition Dizzy Woosh beer. That's right, Dizzy Woosh is no longer just a band, it's going to be a beer too, folks. So, I'm not going to explain it as well as these guys can, but from what I understand, this is the Dizzy Woosh beer here in the fermenter, correct?
Yeah,
and this is kind of an idea of what it's going to look like. It's going to be a hazy IPA, so you can kind of get the idea there from that little window. But this is going to be Dizzy Woosh beer in a couple weeks. We started. You're going to explain this so much better, but this is what heats up the water. This is where we started, correct?
That is correct. That's where hot water is.
We're going for about 177 degrees.
This one went in about 175 degrees. Yep.
And then we transferred to the mash tank.
Mash tun.
Mash tun.
Mash tun.
Okay. This is where we added the barley.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Correct.
We added the barley.
Yes.
We mashed it up.
Perfect.
We stirred it up. There's about what would you say, 90 gallons of water?
Right now, not quite, because it's like probably about close to our maybe about 60 gallons in this.
Okay.
About 60.
Okay, that's right. It was going to be maybe 90 altogether.
And then once it's all in the kettle, then we'll add more water and it'll get to about 90.
So this batch of Dizzy Woosh beer has been brewing almost for nearly an hour since we started it. And we had Brad and Mike help dump the ingredients in and mash it up along the way. With about 5 minutes prior to the end, we're going to give it one last final mash to give it that hazy look to it. Then we're going to transfer it over to the
boil kettle.
The boil kettle, correct. And in the boil kettle, it will boil for about an hour.
Correct.
Okay. And when it's finished boiling, then we're going to transfer it over to the fermenter. In the boil kettle, we skipped a part. In the boil kettle is where we're going to add the hops and the other ingredients that will give it its distinct flavor and aromas.
How did you guys come up with like this flavor and what all went into creating the Dizzy Woosh flavor?
Well, we got a crack team of brewmasters right here at ShuBrew that kind of came up with the recipe on their own. And fortunately, we've had the pleasure of working together in the past, so they kind of know what Dizzy Woosh is all about. So I think that helped maybe inspire them to go ahead and create the hazy IPA that is going to be Dizzy Woosh. It's going to be a very strong beer, so it takes a couple extra steps, from what I understand, in the brewing process. We're looking to maybe come out around 9.5 to 10% for the final alcohol content.
That's going to be extremely flavorful. It's going to be extremely hoppy. It's going to have a lot of sort of bright, vibrant, juicy, tropical flavors. Ton of aroma. It's going to be as hazy as all get out, and I think you guys are going to love it. It's going to be a really good beer.
Still have to do the final stir, the taboo stir.
We have to do the taboo stir. That's right.
Taboo
See how
stir.
close we are to that.
The last,
about 15 minutes away.
the last stir that will make it hazy. Well, because you're not supposed to touch it, from what I learned.
Well, it used to, used to be, you probably remember that like all beer used to be like crystal clear like that,
To get a
right?
beer like this, you would not
If it looked
do
hazy,
the taboo stir.
then it looked like shitty beer that somebody who didn't know what they were doing.
You're forcing the haze.
But now what we do for certain kinds of beer, including the Dizzy Woosh beer, is we're forcing the haze. That sounds like a good name for it.
Forcing the haze.
Forcing the haze. I like it. Roll with that. Forcing the haze.
But
Good name for a song, too.
this would be without the taboo stir.
That's just a regular recirculation. So right now there's recirculation that's going on. So as it's recirculating through the grain bed, what the grain bed is also doing is it's continuously catching more and more of these tiny little particles. And so it is actually clarifying itself right now because of that recirc process. So that's why it would be taboo to do that, because you don't want to disrupt that clarification process.
Right.
But since we're making a hazy beer, what we're going to do is with 5 minutes left, We're going to throw that all out the window, stop the recirc, get in with the paddle, and just stir the shit out of it, and make it really, really thick and cloudy and milky. And then we'll move on.
That's your job, Chance. We're gonna put you on that one. So tell us, Chance, how did this process start? Because I know you were part of the initial conversation of Dizzy Woosh making a Dizzy Woosh beer here at ShuBrew.
Well, Dizzy Woosh is going to be part of this year the Mars Brew Fest. Mars Brew Fest is happening June 22nd in Mars. ShuBrew is always a big part of that, and so we wanted to have a special beer that imbibed our music with one of the craft breweries and something special and local to the region. So our friend Ken Scott, who helps organize Mars Brew Fest, brought together Zach and me, and we did some brainstorming, and it's been put to the actual barrels now, and beer will be flowing. So
This is
we're
David.
excited.
You brought up Zach. Zach's over here working
Yes,
in
Zach.
the back. Everyone say hi to Zach.
What's up?
Our owner and brewmaster.
And of course we got David, right? David here at
David.
ShuBrew. Yep.
And Nate's our other brewer here.
So you guys operate with 3 brewmasters.
With three brewers, yes.
3 brewers.
Zach would be what we call our brewmaster because
He's in charge of everything.
He's in charge of everything. He sets
Okay.
the compass and direction, the
He
kind
has
of
the most
size
to do
of
with
ultimately the series of beers, the kinds of beers we're gonna be making. And then Nate and I are the brewers. We're the ones who are really doing the vast majority of the actual daily brewery operations.
Physical work, the day-to-day operations.
That's right. Force the haze, gents. Anybody want help with this process?
I'm willing to.
Okay, chance. Get in here. Really get down to the bottom of this mash. See, I'm trying to really get the mash pedal, get down to the floor of this
Really stir it up from the
false
bottom.
bottom, stir it up from the bottom. We want to get as much of those grains kind of kicked up into the liquid as possible.
I haven't been to the Sharpsburg. Well, I was at the Sharpsburg place before.
And then we're going to stir.
I was there for the first time
Stirring it up. Getting under the grains, flying it up. Take a look, see what I'm doing here.
and we stopped at Hitchhiker.
Get down in there, forcing it to the surface. And that's how that rolls.
That's what you
Good.
call analog beer making.
This is analog beer making on the way. There's Chance forcing the haze.
Forcing the haze, baby. Forcing the haze.
Gonna have a hazy.
Yeah, now you can see it. It's like getting it's getting foamy too. There's a lot of oats in there, so there's a lot of just like proteins and stuff that's gonna start going in there and making it nice and okay.
Getting the foam.
Getting the foam. Oh yeah, you did a good job. And you did it right on time.
Hi everybody, Chance here from Dizzy Woosh. Very excited that I have been bestowed the honor of, what is my title today?
You're a brewer today.
Today I am a brewer, and the only way I can pay back this honor is we are making Zach an honorary member of Dizzy Woosh as he shows us down the path of brewing today for the Dizzy Woosh beer. What inspired the flavors of a Dizzy Woosh beer?
We wanted to make something big, citrusy, summery, and what'd you tell me that Dizzy Woosh meant?
It means rock and roll.
And this beer means rock and roll. It's a big 10% IPA.
Perfect. Love it.
At the transfer point, we're going to transfer the work from the mash tun into the boil kettle. Now, where I was talking to you about hitting that bottom, that's a false bottom. Did you see the false bottom from the kettle before?
I did.
It's all perforated. Same thing down here. So that's what's going to keep the grains in here, and it's going to allow the wort to flow, just the liquid, into the kettle. So that's not going to move from there. I changed everything around, so this pump's going to move it in the kettle. once we've collected what we need to collect, we'll start bringing it to a boil. Okay, so we don't want to shoot it too hard like that. We don't want it to go like that, because then we're gonna lose a lot of the sugar. It's gonna move so fast that a lot of the sugar will stay in here. We want as much of the sugar that's in here to go into here.
Gently come out.
So yeah, so we do a sort of a gentle transfer. So it's a little on the slow side, but
Does the steam make me go?
not quite yet.
Okay.
Not quite yet. You have to wait a couple weeks.
Step away and feel like, oh, wow, did I drink one and I
You can
forgot
inhale
about
those
it?
vapors all you want. No intoxication will occur.
Small spot and catches the majority of your particulates or whatever.
Exactly right. Exactly. That's what it's doing. Now, I did have some hot water in here. This part of the process is called the lauter. So the lauter is when we separate the wort from the grain. That's what that is. One thing we do during the lauter to help rinse as much of the sugar as possible into the kettle is something called a sparge. So the sparge is basically having water continuously flow from the kettle, so it helps to rinse that sugar off.
To push it. Okay.
Yeah, so yeah, to push the sugar
Yeah.
off of the grain bed and into the wort and into the kettle. So in a second, I'm gonna start transferring liquid at the same rate of flow,
Yes.
so that it stays, so the level stays even the whole time, but that we're continuously adding liquid, continuously rinsing this
The
liquid.
water kind of, okay, and it just
So,
gets some
yeah,
more
the
last bit
perfect
out of
sparge-
there.
The perfect sparge, there's no change in the level.
Gotcha.
This is coming in as fast as it's going. That's the idea.
Hi, I'm Dan. I'm in the band Dizzy Woosh, and I buy ShuBrew all the time at Giant Eagle.
You buy it
It's
at Giant Eagle?
delicious all the time.
So tell us a little bit more, where else can we find ShuBrew beer available to purchase?
Yeah, so we have approximately 100 accounts that we sell to throughout the Pittsburgh area, as far south here as Cannonsburg.
Wow.
A couple places, a place in Washington too. But yeah, we're in most Giant Eagle or market districts. You can find our cans, and then bars throughout the city on draft.
I had a Kolsch Runnings at Industry in Lawrenceville last week.
There you go.
Very great. Fish and chips and a Kolsch.
Now, one thing I notice about a lot of the ShuBrew product that comes down is there's a Nintendo type cartoon kind of theme there. Who's the guy behind all the Mario, Luigi, Nintendo type?
Yeah, that was me. So
Yeah.
we really wanted to a couple of years ago, or a few years ago now. We really wanted to start developing a brand for our hazy IPAs.
And I believe it's called the Pixelated IPA series.
It is, and so we went with the term pixelated IPA because everyone else calls them New England IPAs, and being from Pittsburgh, I won't give New England credit for anything. That's good. And I happen to be a big video game fan, specifically Nintendo stuff. So I'm like, well, you know, what's another way to call it hazy without calling it New England? And we went with pixelated, and then they all have some sort of video game reference to them.
And how many beers do you think are included in your Pixelated IPA series to date?
This past Friday, we released our 15th.
15th, wow. And you guys have been brewing beer now for how long?
Well, we've been open for 6 years in September, so.
Oh, congratulations.
But the Pixelated series debuted, I guess it was December 2017.
Okay.
And that was, our first one was Jumpman, which was sort of a nod to, Jumpman was what Mario was named before he was Mario. It was, he was named Jumpman when he was in Donkey Kong.
Donkey Kong, right. Awesome.
And so,
Very cool. So 15 beers in the Pixelated IPA series in less than 2 years. Sounds like they're doing something right. Dan's a big
Pushing them
fan.
out.
I'm a big fan. This tastes great. Although this is not
This
pixelated.
isn't a pixelated.
No, this is not pixelated. This is Robot Owl, fresh off of the press. This can was just packaged within the hour. And
I love the artwork on that too.
yeah, the artwork looks great.
yeah, Ben Miller. The guy's awesome. He's been doing artwork for us since the day we opened. He did our first probably 6 or 7 labels for us.
Is he responsible for the iconic now boot print ShuBrew logo?
No, I did the boot print.
You did the boot
but
print?
he did our Jungle Boot guy,
Okay.
which is sort of our flagship West Coast IPA.
And can you tell us a little bit about how you came up with the name ShuBrew?
Yeah, it's very simple. My last name is Shoemaker.
There you go.
And
You heard it
so
first
it's,
right here, folks.
Yeah.
Sugar up, right? We're getting the sugar
Yep,
ready
getting the
to
sugar
add.
dissolved and ready to add. The sugar will increase the gravity of this pre-beer fluid that we call worts. And with more added sugar and a higher gravity level, the yeast will produce more alcohol.
And that's what we're going for, right?
Making a higher alcohol IPA. That is exactly what we're going for. These ones go to it.
So we've already transferred the beer over here to the boiler.
We've transferred a lot of it. We're not quite done transferring it yet. But I usually stop it midway so that the action of mixing in more wort will help to mix it in a bit better.
Combine all the ingredients.
So, analog brewing. I need to make sure when I stop it, I stop transferring it just the right level. Today it's going to be just below 50 gallons. So. Okay, we got about 15 gallons to go still.
Yeah, several brewing
All right, folks, we're here with Ken Scott. He has a lot to do with the initial planning and putting this whole thing together. So thank you very much. First and foremost, thank you for involving Dizzy Woosh and inviting us here to make the Dizzy Woosh beer.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about the Mars Brew Fest and the day that June 22nd we're going to release this Dizzy Woosh beer to the public? Can you tell us a little bit about the Mars Brew Fest?
Well, the Mars Brew Fest, this is our 5th year, and it was started 5 years ago during the Mars New Year celebration that the mayor of Mars, Greg Hartong, put together, which is actually happens every 22 months Earth time. We celebrate it in the town of Mars. This year that it's happening, it's the actual Mars New Year date was back in March, but since it's March, they had a dinner. But the celebration is actually happening May 31st, June 1st, and 2nd in the town of Mars. NASA, JPL, bring all kinds of exhibits, kid-friendly. Steam is involved, so a lot of things going on technically about Mars.
It's definitely a big day for our hometown Mars. The Mars New Year. So we get to play on that a little bit. And like you said, NASA's involved. They make a big deal about it. But anyway, it sounds like it inspired the Mars Brew Fest. Sort of evolved from this event.
Yeah, the mayor asked me if I could put together a beer fest for the first event, and we did. We didn't think that it would be that well attended. We ended up getting 400 people.
Oh, that's great.
And then it grew from there. Last year we had 750 people.
Awesome.
So I've kind of talked the mayor into allowing us just to make this a fundraiser for the Mars New Year event. So we're trying to have it same time every
this sort of
year.
helps benefit the activities that go on for Mars New Year. Well, that sounds great because I know Dizzy Woosh is playing, and we're expecting almost up to 800 people. I understand.
Yeah, we're shooting for 800 this year, maybe
That's
more.
great.
See how the weather holds.
That's great. And in addition to ShuBrew being a part of this, there's also going to be additional breweries and distilleries, wineries.
We've got about 24 Western Pennsylvania breweries, distilleries, cideries,
Awesome.
and a couple wineries.
Very cool. But ShuBrew is one that you want to check out for sure. Definitely check out the ShuBrew because
Stop by the B.A.S.H tent. We're the hosts of the Butler Area Society of Homebrewers.
Oh, that's awesome.
Homebrewers in a club that we get together once a month. So we're the hosts of the brew fest.
oatmeal is very common in this style beer.
Yes, very common in this style of beer. That's correct.
Just telling me, So
Yeah.
it looks literally like Quaker oatmeal. We added that earlier to this batch of beer.
And it gives a lot of the same qualities you have. Like in Quaker oatmeal, you have you have the body, that kind of the thickness that comes from well-cooked oatmeal.
And it's going to help us get that haze that we're
It will
looking
also
for.
help aid with the haze too. It adds a lot of proteins to
Now,
it.
in a typical IPA, a non-hazy IPA,
Yep.
is there still oatmeal added?
You can add it.
And we just don't give it
You
that,
wouldn't
that
put
tab
nearly
boost.
as much as we put in here.
Okay.
You might add a touch of it, but it's not that powerful.
Okay.
Not for a more traditional.
As soon as they get out of the way. All right, so the very first time that we played for ShuBrew was November a few years ago, and it was long before any of these tanks were here. In fact, we performed right over here in this corner. We were initially supposed to perform outside, but it was November, so it was very cool. They moved us inside, and we packed this place. There was no elbow room. But anyway, since then, in 2 short years, you can see they've tripled, if not quadrupled, their production. And the second time we played here was for National Record Store Day last year, and we performed outside with a few other bands, and we had a great turnout. There was a food truck here. It was National Record Store Day, so people just literally had vinyl on the tailgates of their trucks and stuff. Our history with ShuBrew goes back a few years, and here we are today making our own Dizzy Woosh beer inside this brewery. So we're having a blast. We love these guys. You got to check it out. If you've never had a ShuBrew, you're missing out.
Yeah.
All right, so
This might worry some of the.
So we're about to add the final ingredient to the Dizzy Woosh beer, and that ingredient is love, ladies and gentlemen. Dizzy Woosh is going to serenade the Dizzy Woosh beer as it steeps and boils in its final stages of being made. And so it's the perfect ingredient and the final touch for Dizzy Woosh to make the Dizzy Woosh beer.
Portland, Maine, or Portland, Oregon.
All right. Dizzy Woosh beer is brewing. It was a blast here at ShuBrew today. We learned a lot about beer making. We want to thank ShuBrew for letting us behind the scenes into the brewery, into their business. It was a ton of fun. We cannot wait for the next few weeks so we can get the Dizzy Woosh beer out there to the public. We're going to see you guys at the Mars Brew Fest on June 22nd.
Rock and roll. Do a little
Too much
dance.
rock for one hand.
Thank you, ShuBrew. Thank you, Trish. Thank you, 4-1 Tunes. And on behalf of Dizzy Woosh, we'd like to say thanks. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Barbara, too.
Honesty, kind of searching even first for the remedy. Well, I don't wanna be a common man, goddamn with the looks. Another name, brand new. I don't wanna be the common names in the tombstones of each other's graves. Well, I just wanna exchange pleasantries, spread peace, and take a nap up in a tapestry. No. I said, whoa, I gotta get on with a Portland, Oregon.